This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the Lenovo ThinkPad X1. We scored one early. This will be available on May 20th, 2011, starting at $1349, and it's Lenovo's answer to, say, the MacBook Air and the Samsung Series 9 for a thin, fashionable, and durable notebook. It's definitely got that Lenovo twist. This thing is built like a tank. It's got the usual Lenovo look, the soft touch finish over here, and you can see there's a bevel on the corner here. Lenovo ever fond of rectilinear styling here. They don't do the curves too much. And we've got a side port over here for SD card slot, and you've got your wireless control over here. And on the back, actually, that's where you're going to find most of the ports on this guy. You've got your Ethernet, gigabit Ethernet over here. You've got a SIM card slot, because you can get this with wireless wide area network options, a Gobi modem, USB, HDMI, DisplayPort as well, and eSATA. You've got your charging port over here. And under this little rubber door, you've got your headphone jack and another USB port. So you've got two USB ports, one is USB 3.0. This is a 13.3-inch display, so if you like the X220 with the 12.5-inch just feels and looks a little bit too small for you, this might be a good option. It also has 1366 by 768 resolution. And it's got Corning Gorilla Glass edge to edge. You can see the shiny bezel over here. It's a layer of Corning Gorilla Glass over the top. This is not touchscreen or anything like that. It's just for the added durability because this has the usual Lenovo roll cage design, the metal body. It's incredibly durable, and despite the fact that it's thin, you know you're probably not going to crack the display or have any kind of damage. The keyboard is Lenovo's usual lovely sculpted keyboard here. And there's little dips in each key, so your fingers really stay on target and the keys are close together to avoid spills, Lenovo says, with very little bits of cracks down below in this island-style keyboard. As you'd expect from a Lenovo keyboard, this is a dream to type on. We've got the usual eraser stick pointer with the two buttons up here and the touchpad with the integrated buttons over here as well, so you can go with either one. Controls over here, you got your power button, and you've got hardware volume controls right here, mute button as well, and you've got your fingerprint sensor over here for biometric fingerprint security, and you've got your ThinkVantage button over here for the usual excellent set of ThinkPad software management tools. Now, what makes this guy worth $1349 or better? It's got a full notebook CPU in this. This is not an ultra low voltage, low power MacBook Air kind of experience here. This has a full second generation Core CPU in it. You can get this with a Core i3, a Core i5, or even a Core i7 2.7 gigahertz. Our review unit has a Core i5 2520M CPU in it, and that's 2.5 gigahertz with 3 megs of level 2 cache and a 1333 megahertz front side bus. That's a very powerful computer in an incredibly slim and relatively light package. This weighs 3.73 pounds with the included built-in battery, and we'll take a look at that right now. Speaking of, it's about a 4,000 milliamp battery, and it is sealed inside the notebook. Right here you'll see there is no latch to remove the battery. Lenovo says that this is good for about 5 hours on a charge, and that seems about right if you're reasonably concerned with brightness. And this is a bright display. It's not IPS, it's not mind-blowing, but it's a very nice display. And there's an optional additional battery here. It adds another 4,000 milliamps and will bring you up to potentially 10 hours. And this only weighs 13 ounces. I'll put that on so you can see how it looks. It doesn't make it that huge and awkward by any means. Certainly a lot smaller than the battery module that is used on the X220. And there it is with the wedge battery installed. So that would bring it up to about 4.5 pounds or so for your 10 hours of battery life with full power computing. So if you want to take the battery off, you slide the release latch over here to the release position, and then you grab and pull this thing. It's pretty weird. You actually pull it out like that, and that's how you get that battery off. So here we've got your keyboard drain holes, should you happen to pour water on top of your keyboard. And if you want to access the hard drive, it's under this section right here. You can see there's one screw, and this lifts off. And then there's symbols over here for access to the motherboard and RAM, so we assume that if you unscrew these, you can pop back off and access the RAM. We're going to try that and check out our full written review to find out about how you dissect this guy. Lenovo ships standard with 4 gigs of DDR3 RAM. It can hold up to 8 gigs maximum. Again, you can go up to a Core i7 if you want to with this guy as well. It uses Intel HD 3000 graphics. Now, Intel integrated graphics were never a great selling point, but as we noted with the X220 review, the latest 2nd gen Core HD graphics chip is really very good. And you can do some gaming like, say, Left 4 Dead 2, that kind of thing. And we're going to have a separate video that shows you gaming on this with some current 3D titles. Despite the relatively small chassis, this has stereo speakers, and they are incredibly loud. You've also got a low-light webcam over here. You've got a digital array microphone as well. For hard drives, you can get a conventional hard drive. Ours shipped with a 250 gig standard 7200 RPM drive. You can also get a 320 gig drive, and you can go up to 160 gig with an Intel SSD. Lenovo says that the display has 350 nits of brightness, and indeed it is quite bright. It can combat the light in a bright sunny room well and maintain readability. Fingerprint reader is standard on this. Bluetooth is optional. If you get Bluetooth, you get Bluetooth 3.0. So now so you can hear the incredibly loud speakers, which are only at half volume right now. We're playing Hulu 480p full screen, so you can see it can handle that absolutely no problem over a Wi-Fi in connection. The Intel HD 3000 graphics and CPU have no problem with this because this is a full notebook computing experience here.
Illinois? It's like 500 miles from Manhattan. No.
So certainly the X1 for a thin and relatively light computer is up to pretty much any computing task that you can throw at a notebook computer. It can handle Photoshop, it can handle some AutoCAD, obviously Office, Internet Explorer, streaming video, all that kind of thing. Absolutely no problem for this. The only thing that if you really want to play something like Crysis, obviously this is not your machine, you want a serious heavy-duty gaming rig, but for light 3D gaming even with some popular titles, it can do it. Let's do a 360 of the machine now. Again, I just want to say that this keyboard is the best that Lenovo's made and they make some amazing keyboards. It is just wonderful. You see from the side view how thin it is. Lenovo both says 16 millimeters thin. Well, they're not including the display bezel as far as I can tell, but it's still a very thin machine. Typical ThinkPad look with that matte finish. Does pick up some fingerprint oil, as you can see. In the tradition of Lenovo computers, though, I have to say it's a very good looking machine. Not flashy, obviously, but it's nice looking. So if you're looking for a high quality computer that's thin, very light, incredibly durable with that roll cage design, Gorilla Glass over the display, bright display, this one is going to be hard to beat. At $1349 it's not cheap, but boy, you get a heck of a lot of computing power compared to, say, the Samsung Series 9 or the MacBook Air for about the same price or less. And speaking of the MacBook Air, if you're wondering how they compare, just about the same size footprint. Obviously the MacBook Air is going to be thinner, but pretty favorable comparison, especially for the computing power that you get. So that's the Lenovo ThinkPad X20. Again, it's going to be available on May 20th, starting at $1349. We have the middle version, the Core i5, which is certainly very powerful, and this one scored 7.1 in the Windows Experience Index for the processor and 4.7 for graphics. So you're looking at a pretty powerful machine that's probably going to sell for about, I would imagine, $100 more than base, so probably $1449. Again, we'll be doing a gaming video of this one, and of course we'll have a full written review with benchmarks and all the other goodies. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the Lenovo ThinkPad X1.